Volkswagen just hit the big 5-0 for the GTI badge, and instead of doing the usual special stickers, a new wheel design, thank you for your loyalty routine, they went full Volkswagen. Opened the vault, dragged out a 12-year-old concept, painted it green, and announced it like a resurrection. Say hello again to the 2014 GTI Roadster. But to appreciate how ridiculous this is, you have to go back to where it started. You're watching Speed Logic. Like, subscribe, and let's move. This car didn't debut at Frankfurt, it didn't roll onto the Geneva stand, and it wasn't born in some secret skunk works behind a Bavarian door marked "Do Not Enter." It was made for Gran Turismo 6. Volkswagen's team basically burned real money and real talent to create a digital dream machine so people could hammer it around pixel-perfect tracks. That idea isn't new. Gran Turismo has been a long-running showroom for concepts manufacturers weren't ready to put under real-world scrutiny. What's wild is that VW didn't keep it virtual. They built the thing for real, then locked it away in a museum for 12 years, and now they've pulled it back out, wiped the dust off, and rolled it in front of cameras again, because GTI turning 50 is the kind of milestone you can justify almost anything with. And to be fair, GTI earned its status. The 1976 Mark I Golf GTI basically wrote the rulebook for the hot hatch. Before that, the idea of stuffing a serious engine into a compact family car and calling it a driver's weapon wasn't really a mainstream thing. After it, it became an entire category. Now look at this Roadster and try to connect it to a normal Golf. Good luck. Sure, it's built around Mark VII bones, and yes, it runs a familiar 7-speed DSG. And then, everything goes off the rails. No roof, no rear seats, a body that's totally bespoke, and doors that swing upward like it's trying to cosplay a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, something a production Golf has never done and never will. The Aero is pure drama. Hood vents, a huge rear diffuser, an absolutely oversized wing, and 20-inch center lock wheels. It doesn't look like a car you'd park next to a Passat or Tiguan at a dealership. It looks like a supercar that accidentally wandered into a hatchback family reunion. Volkswagen openly admits it isn't road legal in spirit in any way, because that wasn't the assignment. This is a concept in the purest sense. Imagination first, regulations never. No crash test anxiety, no pedestrian safety compromises, no CO2 homework. Under the so-called hood sits the part that really makes you laugh, a twin-turbo 3-liter V6. Not the classic GTI recipe of a sensible 4-cylinder, not the familiar 2.0 TSI, but a full 6 with 2 turbos pushing 503 horsepower and 560 Newton meters. Still a big number today, let alone for a car wearing Golf in its name. Power goes through 4Motion, the Golf R-style system, except here it's dealing with roughly double the output, so the results are predictably unhinged. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.6 seconds, and a claimed 309 kilometers per hour top speed, quicker than plenty of supercars from not that long ago. Meanwhile, the standard GTI from the same generation was around 220 horsepower and about 6.5 seconds to 100, just to keep reality in frame. Fast forward to 2026, and Volkswagen's revival is hilariously minimal. They brought the Roadster back and changed the paint. It now wears a dark green metallic called Dark Moss Green Metallic, chosen as a nod to the Golf GTI Edition 50, where that color is exclusive. That's it. No upgrades, no re-engineering, no "we're considering production," just a repaint and a ceremonial photo shoot like it's a brand new chapter. And VW isn't stopping there. This Roadster is just one moment in a bigger GTI anniversary celebration, because they're also bringing back another concept from the same era, a Golf with a Bentley Y12. Equally absurd, equally entertaining, and a solid promise that this anniversary year is going to keep serving automotive nonsense in the best possible way.
Some things in the automotive universe feel permanent. Sunrise, Monday traffic, and the Mercedes G-Class, the luxury brick on wheels that spent decades doing one job better than anything else on the road, loudly broadcasting that its owner is winning at life. But the world is shrinking. Parking lots are getting tighter, environmental pressure is getting louder, and Mercedes has decided to lean into the moment with a risky idea: a second G-Class, only scaled down. Officially, it's simple. Today's G has grown up, bulked up, and priced itself into the stratosphere, so Mercedes wants a smaller, cheaper entry point to pull in new buyers. And honestly, the timing makes sense, because the full-size G just had its best year ever. In 2025, it moved 49,700 units, up 23% in a single year. So Mercedes is basically saying, if the big G prints money, imagine what a smaller one could do. And they're expanding the whole G universe. I mentioned this trend before, but now the company itself has started feeding more detail into the story, and it lines up with what the spy photographers just captured. Right now, the baby G is deep in testing, and winter spy shots from snowy Europe show a prototype that's almost comically on brand. The design team clearly didn't go searching for inspiration. They grabbed the full-size G, hit the shrink button to roughly 70%, softened a couple edges, and called it a day. The signature cues are all intact: round headlights with those familiar rings, the flat slab hood, the squared arches, and the rear door with the spare wheel mounted outside. This thing could be seen in silhouette and you'd still know exactly what it is. The prototype even ran mismatched wheels, which is basically the universal sign that engineers are still playing the what looks right versus what behaves right game. Up top, you've got roof rails too, because yes, this smaller G also wants to cosplay the active lifestyle. Skis, boards, rooftop boxes, the whole Instagram starter pack. But the real headline isn't the styling, it's the structure. Underneath, Mercedes is reportedly going for something most modern SUVs don't bother with anymore: a dedicated ladder frame setup built specifically for this model. Marcus Schaefer himself called it a miniature ladder frame chassis and hinted that the suspension ambition and wheel setup will be in the same spirit as the full-size G, meaning it should be genuinely capable off-road, not just a tall hatchback pretending. And in a market where half the off-roaders are basically city cars in hiking boots, a proper body-on-frame approach is a big statement. Will owners actually use it? Probably not, but the point is the capability should be real, at least on paper and in engineering intent. Now for the part that will annoy a lot of people. The small G is being positioned, at least initially, as electric only. No gasoline, no diesel, no hybrid, just EV. Mercedes isn't sharing the juicy numbers yet. Battery size, motor power, range, everything is still under lock and key. But the prototype gives the game away anyway. No exhaust in sight, which is the most honest confirmation you can get. The likely scenario is that the drivetrain tech comes from Mercedes' broader new-gen electric crossover playbook. Think the next electric GLA, GLC direction, so don't expect some out-of-nowhere miracle solution. And the combustion option? Mercedes is keeping it in that classic corporate fog. Maybe, possible, depends on the market. Translation: if the electric baby G doesn't sell like a hero, they'll suddenly discover a plan B that involves an engine. Funny thing is, they could have offered both from day one, but brands love a dramatic pivot. Either way, this small G is shaping up as a direct counter to an equally rumored rival, a smaller Defender that Jaguar Land Rover is supposedly cooking up. And right now, both of them exist in the same category: spy photos, whispers, prototypes, and promises. So yes, we're watching a race between two cars you still can't actually buy. Both brands are selling the same fairy tale: more affordable, more accessible, for a broader audience. And both will absolutely slap a launch price on these cars that has nothing to do with the word affordable. But let's be honest, G-Class has never been a car about saving money. It's a car about presence, about audacity, about that stubborn confidence that you'll drive into places where other people don't even want to step. If the smaller G manages to inherit even half of that DNA, it's got all the ingredients to turn into a runaway hit. And while the progressive parts of the world, Europe, North America, Japan, are marching in formation toward a new generation hybrid RAV4, Toyota is quietly doing the funniest thing possible: giving the Middle East a loophole.
Over there, the new RAV4 can still be bought the old-fashioned way. Pure gasoline, no hybrid system, no battery pack, no electric motors, and absolutely zero moral lecture attached. Just fuel and pistons, like it's 2010 and nobody is watching your tailpipe. The recipe is as simple as it gets. A 2.0-liter naturally aspirated engine with 169 horsepower, basically carried over from the previous generation with minimal fuss. Toyota didn't upgrade it, didn't reinvent it, didn't chase miracles, because it doesn't have to. If local regulations aren't demanding acrobatics, why waste time pretending? Which is exactly why buyers in Europe, who are being pushed into one clean future option whether they like it or not, can only look at that spec sheet and exhale through their nose in quiet jealousy. The best part is that from the outside, and even on the inside, you'd never know this RAV4 is the forbidden version. Same sharp styling, same proportions, same wheels, same cabin layout, with a central screen up to 13 inches depending on trim and a 12-inch digital cluster. No badges screaming, "This one still lives in the past." No visual confession. And here's the extra twist. The plug-in hybrid isn't offered there at all. Apparently, Toyota took one look at a region sitting on massive oil reserves and decided a wall charger in the garage is a completely optional lifestyle accessory. So, the takeaway is brutally simple. The gasoline RAV4 didn't die, it just relocated to a place where fuel is cheap, the sun is harsh, and people don't stare at an internal combustion engine like it personally offended them. If you've been missing a pure gas RAV4, congratulations! You now know the only place it still gets to exist. What's your take on the new RAV4? Drop it in the comments. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and tell me what you think about the latest car news. New video is already on the way. See you soon!